and welcome to Kayla's World, Preptober edition. My name is Kayla Canoe. I'm an author, YouTuber, gamer, and aerialist. And today's video is actually going to be expanding upon last week's video, which I will link down below, which was the video on basic outlining. Today we're going to do more detailed outlining. So for this fourth video of my Preptober series, it is going to basically be an overview of how to plot a story via story beats. And as I mentioned in the last video, I use Save the Cat Writes a Novel quite religiously when it comes to story beating and outlining and all of that stuff. Like my boards on the wall behind me here, there's 3 of them, are basically that beautiful graphic that I showed you in the back of this book, except in, large print on the boards. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be discussing all of the story beats in kind of a quicker overview. So we are going to go ahead and just get started. So in the first act, which is the first quarter of the book, there are 5 different story beats that you want to hit. So the first one we discussed last time, which is the opening image, which is basically just a snapshot of where your character's starting out and what the world looks like, kind of just where they're starting. It's the before image for your character and your world. The next story beat is the theme stated, which we went over themes in the last video, but basically the theme of your novel will be stated by a character, probably not the main character, and it's basically just kind of hinting at the story arc or the character arc that your character is going to go through. The next story beat is the setup, and this is going to probably be more than one scene. This is probably be multiple scenes. This is just kind of setting up your world, introducing everyone to maybe some of the side characters get introduced here. If your character's got family, they might get introduced here. And it's really just scenes of what the character's life looks like before they begin their journey. The next in line is going to be that catalyst that we talked about last time, which is the inciting incident. It's going to be the thing that happens to your main character that forces them to go on their journey to a new world. We'll call it a new world. It's basically the thing that's upsetting the status quo to the point of change has to happen. And then the last story beat in the first act is the debate. So the debate is basically the response to the catalyst. The catalyst happens, this thing happens, and then after it happens, your character has to debate on what to do. And in that debate, they end up making that decision and preparing for wherever it is that they're going. So if that's traveling, example I used before is small town boy's parents die, and in that debate phase it's kind of a preparation for him moving on. There might be the funeral and him making a decision on where he's going. I mean, he might not have much decision on what's going, but packing his things up and getting set to travel to his new destination kind of thing. So that's kind of what that debate story beat is just the reflection on the inciting incident and the preparation for the new world that they're going on, the new journey that they're going on, etc. So that's kind of Act 1, the first quarter of the book. Act 2, which is like 50% of the whole book, it starts out with the break into 2 beat, which is break into Act 2 beats. And that is basically the moment that the hero decides to accept that call of action and they leave their comfort zone, and they're going off to try something new or venture into what is the new world. It is a decisive action beat where they are actively doing something. And again, this can be something that they're not, like, it can be a forced action. So, like, as an example from my book, the inciting incident is the people being called to take part in the reckoning. They don't really have a choice in being called, but they have to go. It's basically military law at that point. Like, they are forced to go. So that it's not so much her decision versus just her going because she has to, kind of thing. So the next story beat is going to be basically the introduction of the B story. This can be several scenes. It might be introducing new characters. It's introducing your character to the new world. It could be introducing your character to their love interest, to their nemesis or the bad guy even. So the B story is introduced in this next story beat, and then we kind of have this big section. And let me find the graphic for you. So there's like this big section here, and this is actually what's on my bulletin boards, but I felt like this is easier to see. So this next thing is the fun and games, which, as you see, it's going to be a lot of scenes. It's not just a one scene story beat. This is going to be the bulk of the first half of Act 2. And that's basically just going to be where we get to see the hero in their new world, whether they're doing well or they're succeeding or they're failing. It's also going to be kind of the promise of the premise. So this section is sort of the hook of the story and the reason why the reader picked up the novel in the first place. At the end of that, which should be the exact midpoint of your book, it will be the midpoint, which we did discuss last time. The midpoint is literally the middle of the novel, where the fun and games culminates either in a false victory or a false defeat, which basically just means that if they have a victory, everything's going to go downhill from there. If they had a defeat, things will get a little bit better before falling off for the all is lost moment. So that's what the false victory, false defeat kind of means there. But this is something that's going to raise the stakes and push the hero towards change. So it's a milestone in their journey. After that, again, we have a big section. This is going to be another big section of story beats, or a big section of scenes. It's going to be a lot of scenes, multi-scenes for the story beat, and this is the bad guys close in. So very much like the fun and games, where you're just kind of getting build up to that midpoint, either victory or defeat. You are getting kind of either, depending on how the midpoint went, either it's getting a little bit better and then statically like drops off for that all is lost moment, or things are getting progressively worse for your character, and it leads up to that all is lost moment. So that's the bad guys close in is leading you to your all is lost moment, which, like I explained in the last video, is basically bottom of the barrel, whiff of death. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and this is the fallout. This is the epic moment in which everything is bad, just the epitome of bad. It's the lowest point in the novel for sure. Immediately after that, you'll have another story beat, which can also be kind of a multi-scene type thing, and that is going to be the dark night of the soul, which is basically where your character is wallowing in self-pity and sorrow, and they know that they can't keep trying to fix things the wrong way anymore. They need to fix things the right way, and this is them reflecting on the all is lost moment and figuring out what they need to do to actually make things right, to actually solve their problems, to actually learn that theme that you came up with earlier. So that's kind of the dark night of the soul. It's basically them wallowing right before they figure out the answers to all of their problems. And that is the end of Act 2. Act 3, story beats. We have break into 3, which stands for break into Act 3. And that is that aha moment where your character finally realizes how to solve their problems and how to fix themselves, how to fix everything. They're like, okay, I wallowed in self-doubt, and now I'm like, aha, I know what I need to do to fix things. Okay, and that's going to carry the story forward into the finale or the climax, the big boss fight, if you will. And during the finale, that is where the hero is going to prove that they've truly learned the theme of the novel, and they are going to enact their plan that they came up with. So the finale is actually kind of broken down into like a 5-point finale, and so that generally consists of gathering the team is a story beat where, self-explanatory, you are gathering your team, gathering your resources, preparing for your plan to fix things, whatever that is. And then you have executing the plan, which means you're trying to fix the things that you need to fix. And then there's the high tower surprise, which means your plan didn't quite work. Somebody threw a wrench in your plans, and now you're gonna have to improvise. So that's point 3, is the high tower surprise. Point 4 is the dig deep down. That's the regrouping moment. That's the moment where we're like, oh crap, plan not working. New thing just popped in here. What do we do? How do we move forward? We're digging deep down to figure out the answer or to keep fighting. And then the 5th point is the execution of the new plan, because we had a new plan, and then kind of going through with that and achieving their goal or the kind of climax finale there. And then once that all wraps up, you have your final image, which is basically a mirror to your opening image. This is the after snapshot of who the hero is after going through all of the character arc goodness that they went through. This is kind of the epic and satisfying transformation part, where you're kind of seeing where they are now at the end of this long, satisfying journey. So yeah, that was a lot of information, and yeah, like I said before, I highly recommend Save the Cat Writes the Novel if you guys like the whole story beat approach. I know I do. I am very visual. I have my boards. I write my scene cards out. I put them on my board. I organize them into the different story beats. And that is what really works for me. As I've said in my past videos, if you guys have any questions for me, you can drop them in the comments, or you can drop them over on the Discord. And I don't think I mentioned it before, but I do run a NaNoWriMo Discord, which means we're hosting a bunch of Preptober events. We will be hosting a bunch of NaNoWriMo events as well. So if you need community and love and support, and just people to work with, you know, to have that motivation, there will be a link below for you to be able to join our server and get in on all the live streams and writing sprints, etc. events that we will be hosting. So that is kind of what I have for you guys. I do have several other videos in this Preptober series that are actually Patreon only or patron only videos. One of them is building magic systems. So I'm going to do a detailed explanation on how to build magic systems. The other one is going to be character arc development, which is going to kind of go through how I am developing character arcs throughout my outline and getting into more detail and specifics on that. And then I'm also going to do a video called The Art of Multi-Point of View, because if you guys don't know, my debut novel, The Reckoning, was a 3 main character, 3 point of view novel, and I figured you guys might want some help on how to prepare for that, plan for that, how that will impact your outline, and those such thoughts. So those are my 3 patron-only videos. If you guys want to check them out, my Patreon link is going to be linked below. I also have several printables to help you with your outlining and world building and character building and all of that, which is also over there for my patrons. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed your time here in Kayla's world.